Are you guys in the right room? Did you mean to be here? This is for Bridge. Okay, I just want to be sure. Ted and I kind of thought this was going to be like our moms, just coming to support us. So we're excited to have you. So, look, we have a booth, first of all. So if you want to come, we're at the Partner Showcase up at the Hyatt. Some of you have been by. I recognize a couple faces. And so we've been hearing a lot of questions about Bridge. And so we've kind of like distilled down the main questions we've been asked about Bridge. And so we're going to kind of answer those for a couple of minutes, and then Ted is going to give us a demo of Bridge. So we're just going to kind of show you what it is. So the first question is, what is Bridge? Okay, and Bridge is actually really simple. Okay, Bridge is a platform that enables organizations to train, develop, and engage primarily their employees, but also their customers and their partners and other members of their community. Okay, and we call that the extended organization. So that's what Bridge does. So, and obviously we're going to get into greater detail, but at a high level, that's what Bridge is and what it does. So the first question is, or second question rather, is why did you guys build Bridge? And so I'm just going to kind of tell you how that came about. So, we released Canvas in 2011, and ever since we released it, we started to have people come to us. At first, people who were using Canvas, and they were saying, hey, can we use Canvas to develop and train our employees? And we would always say, no, don't do it. Trust us, it's not built for that. And they'd say, come on, why? And we'd say, because they're different. They're actually pretty different. And they say, well, we want to do it anyway. And we'd say, okay, fine. And then they come back and be like, guys, Canvas isn't meant to do this. And we'd be like, you're right, absolutely. But as that happened more and more, first it happened with clients of Canvas. And then it started happening with corporations, people who had nothing to do with, they didn't know us they weren't at educational institutions. And we were like, man, this is kind of weird. Why are some of them big, name brand companies, why are they coming to us? There are like 5 million learning management systems that are built for this very purpose, right? They're built to develop and train and engage employees. And we're like, that's kind of weird. So we started to kind of poke around, and this is kind of what that's so pixelated, but you get the idea, right? It looked way better on my screen. People were super frustrated with the systems that were designed for that very purpose of training and developing and engaging employees. And we found that there were kind of two problems. The first was a product problem, right? Super, super complicated, super hard to use, poorly designed, many of them built in the 80s and the 90s, not a lot of innovation. And then the second problem was one of customer service and support, which blows our mind because that's actually that's not rocket science. It's hard to do, but it's not complicated. But in this industry, it's actually really bad. And so people were super frustrated. We talked to a bunch of industry analysts at a bunch of companies. The average net promoter score there is a -35, which means way more people who wouldn't recommend their LMS than would. And so we were like, man, this is starting to feel kind of familiar, right? Because back in 2008, when these guys were kind of tossing around the idea with Josh, those were the same characteristics that they saw, right? Really poor product, really unhappy customers, and really bad support. So we were like, all right, well, let's think about this. How would we go about this if we did this? And the first kind of option was, well, should we repurpose Canvas, right? We've got a learning management system here. It's got most of the stuff it would need. Let's do that. Let's think about that. And, before long, we were like, bad idea, right? All you're going to do is end up making both students and employees really unhappy. You're going to build this Frankenstein's monster, okay? So this brings me to my favorite joke I've ever heard. Just read it. If you don't think it's funny, I don't feel bad. It just means you have a bad sense of humor. Okay, no one thinks it's funny. That's okay. Ted told me that was going to flop, but so anyway, you're familiar with the phrase "jack of all trades, master of none," right? And that's sort of what we felt like, kind of repurposing Canvas and adding things to Canvas would do. And we also were able to learn from the bad experiences of our competitors in the academic learning management system space. Because you'll note that they do have what they call corporate businesses, and all they've done is kind of slap a corporate, or organizational sticker on top of an academic learning management system, and it's been a bad experience for them and their clients. We've talked to quite a few of them. And so we sort of feel like, man, just putting a label on something doesn't mean it's that thing, right? And so, we didn't just want to say, oh, this is Canvas for organizations, right? This is Canvas for employees. So we decided to build it from scratch. And that was a far more, difficult and expensive decision than the other one was. But we believe in building products that are built specifically for a given purpose. So we also built it with our secret sauce, okay? It's a picture of Josh. Josh is not the secret sauce, okay? There's not any, Josh, it's like, never mind, I'm not gonna go there. Anyway, so what the secret sauce is, though, comes from Josh, and that's what we call our product validation methodology, okay? And anyone heard kind of the old story about Devlin and Brian and getting in the car and traveling around? Basically, the long and short of it is, they approached Josh about funding them to build Canvas. And he was like, yes, but you can't build anything till you go and talk to clients first. Build something in PowerPoint, don't actually build it, and go show it to a bunch of people. And they ripped it apart, and they ripped it apart again and again and again, and then they finally came up with something that was awesome, and that was Canvas. So we did the exact same thing with Bridge. We went out and met initially with, we're now in the hundreds, but initially we met with about 30 different organizations. Colleges, schools, universities, nonprofits, churches, and businesses. And kind of just said, hey, what are your needs? How would you use this? What would it be like for you? And, look, the first one got scrapped, right? It's unrecognizable versus what we have today. But we did that, and we iterated, and we came up with Bridge, which is awesome, and we're going to show you. So the two kind of last questions that I get a lot, that I've gotten a lot in the last couple of days are, what's the same, right? Because you guys all know Canvas pretty well, and so everyone's kind of trying to compare it to Canvas. So there's a couple things. Our approach has been the same. I obviously mentioned product validation, mobile first, cloud-based, and then, a super heavy focus on, user-centered design, ease of use, and kind of intuitive design. So those are things that informed our approach. That's just who we are. If we built, a toaster, it would have all those things, okay? So the next thing is, how are they different? And the differences really stem from the use case. So Canvas is the primary platform that people use to get their job done if they're a student or a teacher, right? I mean, if you're a student or a teacher, that's where you live and breathe. And so as a result of that, it has to do a lot, right? There are a lot of jobs that you expect it to do, and it's got to do a lot. Whereas Bridge is not where an employee does most of their work, right? They kind of have their job, and then there's this little sliver of training and development and learning that they've got to do. And it's super important, but it's not their job, and that's not where they get their work done. And so you'll kind of see when we fire up Bridge here in a second that, hopefully you'll be able to kind of see, the differences that kind of stem from that. So that's a little bit of the story of Bridge, what it is, why we built it, how we built it. And then we're just going to hop in and have Ted kind of show us what it is. And then we're going to leave a couple of minutes at the end for questions, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Can everyone can hear me too. Perfect. So obviously you can't really learn an entire piece of software in 15 minutes. So I'm going to just talk a lot about I think what's at the core of Bridge, which is ease of use. And I think in the program it said something along the lines of lowering the barriers to learn, author, administrate, and just make sure that this necessary task is really, really simple. So with that, let's start with the end learner in mind. And so often the end learner is somebody that is, the purchasing department has made this decision for this really ugly platform. You roll it out to the end learners, and they're the ones stuck with this thing that takes like 50 clicks to get anywhere. So first and foremost, we log in. I love showing the bubbles because I think they're beautiful. You log in, your brand is strong, the colors are strong, they're really reflective of kind of who your organization is. There we go. And notice the first thing when you log in is you are one click away from any task you need to accomplish in Bridge. So there's no menu within another menu. You jump in, and again, this is the end learner only. So you've got a My Learning dashboard that gives you a very straightforward view of live training you might need to enroll in, surveys that your organization wants you to take, a very straightforward view of the courses you're enrolled in that might be overdue, next up, or kind of next on the to-do list, optional, that you've raised your hand and said, I want to take that leadership course, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then anything that has been completed in the past. And as far as getting into those courses, you could launch into this course about SMART goals. And you'll notice the images and text and videos are all really, really easy to consume. All of this is completely mobile friendly, and I'll show you a shot of that in a moment. It's really easy for a learner to check their knowledge and to participate in the assessments through sorting, drag and drop, cool technology on any device. So I jump out of that course, I might jump into a different course. I know we're going to get this question, so I'm going to address it right now. Bridge is SCORM compliant. So all that SCORM stuff that your organization has either built or bought over the last 10, 20, however many years, it's going to work in Bridge. However, we give you an alternative to SCORM, because I'll save you the long, sad, kind of boring story of how SCORM evolved. But as you know, SCORM was invented a long time ago, and it's become kind of the status quo for moving content from one platform to another. Problem is, when SCORM was kind of decided upon, mobile was not a thing, cloud was not a thing, and there are inherent challenges to porting your content all over the place. And so we provide alternatives to that, which is what you see authored using Bridge. Okay, let me jump over to more of an admin perspective. And the first thing that you'll note is that it's exactly the same as the learner view. You just have more navigation. So very consistent with Canvas, where your dashboard, kind of your login, is one central place for you, regardless of your status as admin, author, manager, teacher, whoever you might be within the organization. You're still hopefully a learner, and because you're developing professionally, and you need to be compliant, and you need to participate in those tasks as well. So you have your own personalized My Learning dashboard that lets you, again, jump in to take a survey, to see what you need to do. Below that, notice you have a bunch of admin options: courses, users, managing this, managing that, all representing, in a lot of platforms, a ton of busy work and a ton of wasted time. So with just not a lot of time to show you, I think one thing that will really illustrate Bridge's ease of use is the way that you can create content and roll out a course to your learners. So we jump in here to our authoring tool. And I jump in, and let's say we want to give this course title, the InstCon 2015 Best Session Ever. And within the slide title, here, let me just pop in InstCon. And for the sake of not making you watch me type, I'm just going to copy and paste a few things to maximize time. So let's pretend I typed all this out, either from scratch or just from a Word doc. And here I can easily see, well, nothing too special about the content. I want to organize this a little bit better for my learners. So everything from here is point, click, drag, drop, copy, paste. And if you can do those things, you can be a really, really awesome instructional designer here in Bridge. So as I start to walk through the course, I create some headers, and I want to walk through and have my learners focus on that kind of bullet point list of information. You might have millennial workforces or folks that everybody's more engaged with multimedia, images, videos. So the way that you get that in there, something as simple as clicking a little media icon. You can jump to your desktop or just online. You drag, you drop, you paste, it embeds, it formats. I mean, any technical burden that might intimidate some folks who otherwise could create really awesome content can jump right in and create something really beautiful. Then you get to a point where you want to add a knowledge check or an assessment or a quiz. So I add a little question in here. And starting with the most basic, you can make your own question, stuff that most of you have probably done, where you jump in, and let's say this one's sorting. And from our example on the first page, we said that the recipe for happiness here is to buy your ticket, Utah, keynote, learn, have fun. So we jump in here with our sorting question, and we say, InstCon recipe. Oops, sorry. So we said ticket, fly, keynote, learn, and fun. Right there, I've built my question. Bridge can turn this into a really cool sorting question that I'll show you on the end learner side in a moment. We get to the final piece of content that we'll, or kind of presenting content that we'll make here. And we'll say InstCon is flying high. And I'll jump over to my content. I'm just going to copy and paste. Paste that in. So don't believe us? Think again. Because, again, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of content here. This is from last year, a year in review, if you will. And there's me getting jumped over on a BMX bike, which was awesome. And we jumped here down below. And again, we want to incorporate just a little bit more multimedia. So I'm going to hit my icon. And this time I'm going to do something as simple as jump over to YouTube, copy a URL, jump back over to Bridge, paste that URL in, and you'll notice that it embeds formats. Again, technical challenges have already been overcome. Little things that some of you really might appreciate is that you can even play this video while you're authoring, so you can remember why you're even putting this video in the course in the first place. So just very, very simple ideas that, again, lower the barriers to create your the content for your organization. Last but not least, I want to introduce you to this really innovative, cool thing we've done on authoring questions. Because as you all know, and you've probably all spent at some point or another a bunch of time building a huge question bank of questions so that the system can draw on one of those questions and randomly present stuff so people can't pass around a cheat sheet and just click A or C or D. They actually have to understand the concepts. So how do you do that in 30 seconds? That was kind of a approach that we took. And we like to start with this question: what should your learners actually know? So you're starting with what you actually care that they understand, not just click off or short-term kind of power through. So in our example, again, there's vocab, there's steps in a process, factoids, lots of other different types of information. We'll continue to add those to Bridge. But let's use for our example a factoid. And for a very basic example, the factoid that we want our organization to know is that the Golden Gate Bridge is in San Francisco. And if I don't do anything else here, again, 8 seconds worth of typing, I've got a true and false question. But the more and more I start to expand on this, so instead of golden, I might say bronze or silver or platinum. Or instead of bridge, I have freeway or sidewalk. Or Francisco, I want to distract and say Diego or Mateo or Bruno. And you're all kind of seeing where we're going with this, but Bridge now has this little collection and a little brain to basically say, I have options and distractors so I can create true, false, multiple choice, fill in the blank questions just based on 45 seconds worth of work. And that it depends on how many distractors you give it, but again, call it 15, 20 different varieties that will be randomly presented to your learner. The same learner each and every time they take the course, and then obviously peer-to-peer, all on a randomized basis. So if you don't believe me, we're going to now jump in and see what we've done. We jump out of a course, we publish. It's really easy to set up the details, like how much time somebody has to take this, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and enroll. This is not good. I created it in the wrong account. I'm sorry. So I'm going to go. That's okay. It won't have as good of the branding experience, but I'm going to just go ahead and enroll myself, and we can take the course. So I jump in. By enrolling that person, it now appears in that person's dashboard. So here, next up, doing 7 days, takes about 4 minutes, the best session ever. So I go ahead and jump in, and again, in however long this has taken us, 7 minutes or so, we have beautiful content that's very clean, very modern, a very kind of natural linear progression through content. And I get to, again, little checkpoints that I can drag and I can drop and I can play around, put those in the right order. And this is starting to tackle a little bit of those concepts that Davis brought up about what's different. And one huge difference is that within the organizational side, there's no person, no professor, no instructor there to grade papers, to give feedback. It's all about do you know it or do you not, and then get back to being an accountant, a teacher, whatever your actual job is. So Bridge gives immediate feedback on the fly, so it's really easy to understand for a learner where they went wrong. Again, when we get to media and lots of different types of ways to consume new knowledge, again, all that's going to embed and be really easy in here. And I get to my next question, and this is the test we've all been waiting for. Golden Gate Bridge is in San Francisco, true or false? Maybe we don't really understand the concept yet, so we think that is, in fact, false. We got it wrong. It tells us that. Even the feedback, you'll notice, a little bit colloquial, just getting away from this stuffy, kind of boring system. And we get feedback. We didn't pass. We can retry. We can go back to our courses, but let's go ahead and retry. So we start to toggle through the course. We spend a little bit extra time on here, and let's actually get it right. So we need a ticket. We need to fly here or drive here. We need to learn. We need to go to the keynote, learn, and have fun. Whew. Correct? Got it right. Again, I've reviewed this content, but maybe I spend a little extra time on the video, and I get here, and all of a sudden, Golden Gate Bridge is in sand blank. Multiple choice. Again, not too different, but it helps me understand the concept as opposed to like, oh yeah, I remember that was true, I need to go back and take that. So I understand the concept. I pass with flying colors, phenomenal. I get my score. If you attached a certificate, you get your certificate, and you're off to the races. Okay, so that's when we talk about ease of use, lowering barriers. That's kind of what we're referring to. With like 9 minutes left, I want to just show you kind of at a very high level a few other elements that make Bridge very unique. One of them is along the lines of engagement. And engagement for us represents having a pulse on what the organization thinks, feels, is excited about, is worried about, and how aligned in general the organization might be with you. So I can jump in here, I can take a survey, and again, very consistent with Bridge, I've got this awesome user experience with these kind of hovering colors and bubbles, and I select one, and Bridge automatically shoots me forward to the next question. And now here I have opportunities to give feedback and share my opinion, maybe, maybe not. And ultimately, as I progress through this course, what that would look like on the admin side of things is an opportunity for you, to jump in here, and I'll just use an example I already had with a bunch of data here, where you can jump in now and see all of this kind of, these cohorts of people on one group to kind of see again how they're feeling. And just to orient you without the back information, a bubble on the right-hand side would show that entire group or cohort of people is completely aligned with the organization. So I can hover over the question. This one's their abundant growth opportunities here. This one is I have opportunities to give feedback and share my opinion. And here, I've got some middle-of-the-road kind of responses. Well, let's drill down further and separate that into different groups of people. Now I've got this actionable view to be able to see, wow, something about my employees in Salt Lake, they are frustrated. On the flip side, I've got people that are remote that they feel like they have all the room in the world to grow within their organization. Collecting data is awesome, but we don't think it's great for just collecting data's sake. So what do you actually do with this? And again, this is representative of more than just surveys, kind of all throughout Bridge. How is this all actionable? And in this example, you can filter for all these people that don't apply because they seem to be having a great experience, let's say. And I now have these two groups of people that are very frustrated and not aligned with the organization at all. What better way to address those concerns than with learning, with a course, with communication? So I click Build a Course. It automatically enrolls all those people that meet those frustrated groups, and now I can communicate, what the reality, or maybe some empathy to what actually is happening. So we want to leave the rest of the time for question and answer, but hopefully this was a really high-level overview of Bridge being easy, insightful, and different. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the first question is for media content, videos. One of the frustrations we've always had with professional development is how can you judge, did they watch the whole clip, other than just the question,
sure,
quiz kind of thing. How can we actually, did they spend the time on it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So on that note, you could jump into your completed learners and you might filter and say, okay, anybody that's completed a course all time, and then drill down a little bit further and say, did Ted actually, how much time did he spend here? Well, he spent 30 seconds, he spent 2 minutes, he spent 3 hours. So you have some insights into the time that somebody spends in a course down to a second that can help inform if they actually watched a particular video or not.
Yeah, go ahead.
Very elegant solution. This is really great. I hate our learning system at my Is there an index feature where self-paced things can be listed or learners can go and just self-enroll?
Yeah, we call that our learning library. And in a lot of ways, so I don't have one set up in this environment. So our learning library, it's actually a feature set to be released this coming week. So bottom line, it's very similar to kind of the canvas.net feel if you've ever been there. It's got these tiled layouts and really easy to sort and filter and find courses that you're interested in. And again, kind of raise your hand and say, I want to take this, self-enroll right then and there, and then have this learning experience available to you.
So there's ways to push learning to people, and there's also ways to just kind of self-enroll in learning, and then one kind of central location to keep track of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well.
Okay. Are you able to block out classes is the question.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's one thing. Obviously, like our product manager would love to be here and sink her teeth into that. So that's one thing that she's working on is giving you the ability to curate the specific library that should be available to specific people by some really awesome grouping functionality that we have in here. So all those things, again, there's some kind of nuances into how we've approached it, but again, we think it's very elegant and simple, consistent with the rest of Bridge. So, and I'll just do a quick little caveat. If there's a lot of you will have questions about, like, does it do this, does it do that? We'd love to schedule like a web demo with you and drill down very specific to your needs, because obviously there's a lot here that we just haven't been able to show you. So I'll just give that kind of disclaimer.
Or also, again, we're at the Hyatt at the partner showcase, so
Yeah.
come and grab us and we'll do a demo. And one other thing I would just add, and we'll get to a couple more questions. Bridge is new, right? We launched it officially in February, and we've gotten really far in a very short period of time. But we're in kind of that really malleable phase, which some of you probably participated in with Canvas, where there aren't as many customers, and it gives them kind of the chance to be a little bit more involved in helping us shape our roadmap. So that's kind of we really are working very closely with our current customers to help us make sure that this is heading in a direction that they're happy about. So okay, yeah, in glasses there, yeah.
I'm wondering how many clients do you currently have, and how many of them are also Canvas clients?
Sure. So we expect to end the quarter with about 25 institutions, which for having launched in February is actually really, really great. Of those that are Canvas institutions, it's about 5, I would say. Some people were corporations who, when they saw this, were like, oh yeah, we want that. And then some of them are institutions of education, primarily universities thus far, who are then using it for employees. Great question. Yeah, in the back there?
Are any of those 25 upper higher ed that I have on contract that you mentioned early on in the presentation there? And we're one of them. We have segments of our college that are for corporate clients. Do you have any in that pilot that also that are higher education that have corporate clients that are delivering training?
So corporate clients that are clients of the university, you're saying?
So
kind of, yeah. We do, yeah. Our friends, yeah.
And
yeah.
we're working with a
Yeah, we
lot.
do.
Like that's probably the most popular. Well, second to just the kind of HR use case, that's probably the second most popular use case of our higher education clients, and then frankly prospects. Just as time passes, working towards that, of folks that the higher education institution will be our client, but then they develop stuff for Microsoft or Google or whoever as partners.
And we've had a lot of executive ed conversations with folks here at the conference, and we're actually kind of going to make it so Bridge currently, great at what it does. We're going to integrate it with Catalog. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Canvas Catalog, but Canvas Catalog is a public-facing portal that you could use where you don't know who the learner is, right? Right now in Bridge, you have to know who they are because you need an email address. Mm-hmm. But Canvas Catalog would enable someone to self-enroll, pay, and then kind of have the course delivered in Bridge. All right, you
mentioned attaching a certificate to a course,
Mm-hmm.
badges and support.
Okay, so question on badging and certificates. So we do have certificates currently. Badging we don't yet have. Badging is kind of, we have this like bucket of stuff that is kind of like under a question mark, right? That things we hear about, on social and collaboration and gamification, and badging is one of those things. We don't want to just play buzzword bingo with people and just do, something that's going to like make them feel good about having badging. We want to do it in a really cool way that makes sense. And that one's kind of one that we're looking to our foundation partners to help us think through and figure out.
Is there a way to export the data so that we can see who completed what?
So question is there a way to export the data? Yeah, there is. So we have kind of a whole reporting suite where you can see a lot of that, but also you can basically get almost anything out through a CSV download.
Mm-hmm.
Would that include individual department managers? So the distributed management model is something we have to deal with when we...
You're saying, is there a way to get data to individual managers?
Right, so
Yeah.
individual managers are
Sure.
often people that are...
Yeah, absolutely. They're the ones who need to go and kind of check up on, make sure you did this training or that. Yeah. So we're working on kind of a management role, and it's not currently in Bridge, but it's in development right now. And we also have a 3-month roadmap that we can kind of walk you through and help you see exactly kind of where we're going. Yeah.
So is there a separate charge for this, or do I have to have an CSM turn it off?
There is, she wants to know why I'm so handsome. I was just born this way, I guess. I don't know. She wants to know if there's a separate charge. Yes, there is a separate charge. It's a big kind of software application that we had to build, so there is a charge for it. That said, we are being really with people who are existing Canvas clients, we're working quite a bit with them, and they get a really great deal, especially since they're early. So I'm getting the wrap it up sign. Maybe just one last question, and then so just really quick, Ted and I will be sticking around here for a little while, and then we're going to be today and tomorrow up at the Partner Showcase at the Hyatt. And then also my email, I'm Davis, and I'm just davis@instructure.com. If you can't get to those or now, just shoot me an email and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and also feel free to work with your customer success manager, and they can tee up any conversation you want to have about
talk to your
Bridge
CSM
as well.
or your sales rep, and they can also get us to. Okay, one last question. Anyone else? Yeah.
So can you set up a program of courses?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a program of courses where you can say, okay, you got to take these 3 things to be certified as a, amazing presenter at InstructureCon. So, all right, thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.